Russia's offensive against Kupiansk has turned into one of the greatest disasters of the war, a grinding campaign that devours entire brigades, yet yields no meaningful gains. The fact that these fruitless but bloody efforts happen under the command of a general who was once a Ukrainian officer has started raising dreadful suspicion in the Russian ranks, says RFU news media outlet. It is noted that since being pushed back after the Ukrainian counteroffensive in late 2022, Russian armies have hurled themselves against Ukrainian defenses on several axes near Kupiansk, but each of these has become a graveyard for Russian troops. Near Synkivka, armored columns once tried to break through, but Ukrainian counterattacks and artillery fire forced most of them back. The forest belts remain littered with destroyed vehicles and dead Russians, while Ukrainian Special Forces raids keep Russian troops pinned down, RFU News says. To the south, near Pischane, the Russian attempt to split Ukrainian forces in two has turned into a killing zone through the infamous funnel. Here, Russians pour infantry into a narrow corridor only to be slaughtered by Ukrainian artillery, FPV drones, and ambushes from three sides. Every attempt to widen the corridor has collapsed, leaving Russian units undersupplied, exhausted, and easy prey. North of Kupiansk, in the Russian bridgehead, Russian troops did seize Dvorichna after months of attritional assaults, but the prize turned out to be hollow. Armored vehicles cannot cross the Oskil and support an advance, and Ukrainian firepower blocks any further breakout. The result is a static bridgehead where infantry is fed in and destroyed with no prospect of operational success, despite some advances to the southwest, with most Russian soldiers being cut down as they attempt to move into the town. In all, Russia has spent 22 months, at least 2 combined arms armies, and 13,000 soldiers in the Kupiansk direction for nothing but blood and ashes. Ukrainian artillery, aviation and drones strike only the front lines, but also logistics hubs behind them, with extended supply lines further choking Russia's offensive. RFU News asks, this disaster has fueled a strange speculation. Could the Russian commander of this offensive, Lieutenant General Serhiy Storozenko, in fact be Ukraine's best spy? Storozenko was once a decorated Ukrainian officer, the commander of the 36th Marine Brigade, but during the Russian takeover of Crimea in 2014, he defected, and witnesses recall how he encouraged his men to surrender weapons and side with Russia, though he later claimed he had simply resigned. A week after the phony referendum that followed up, he received a Russian passport and soon headed a new brigade for the enemy. By 2022, he commanded the 35th Army in the Kharkiv region, which suffered a humiliating collapse at Izium. Instead of punishment, he was promoted to Lieutenant General in 2023 after whitewashing several post-operation reports and given command of the Russian 6th Army, which is now being bled to death outside Kupiansk. RFU News says, under Storozenko's watch, Russian losses are truly catastrophic. His 6th Army has repeatedly been thrown into frontal assaults that Ukrainians describe as senseless meat attacks. Casualties have skyrocketed so much since the start of the Kupiansk offensive that some Russian analysts whisper about deliberate sabotage. His track record reinforces the suspicion. Defeats at Izium, stalemate in Kursk, and now a complete disaster at Kupiansk.
Ukraine on Thursday repatriated 205 prisoners of war as a result of another round of prisoner exchange with Russia. Some 185 of the returned hostages are servicemen and 20 are civilians. The released servicemen had fought in various parts of Ukraine. Among them are the defenders of embattled Mariupol and National Guardsmen who were captured while guarding the Kornabil nuclear power plant. Almost all of those freed had been held captive since 2022, shortly after Russia launched its full-fledged invasion of the country. Each of the returned prisoners of war will receive the necessary medical assistance and appropriate payments, local media reported, adding that work to free all Ukrainians continues. Commenting on today's prisoner exchange, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, "Since the start of the full-scale invasion, we have already brought over 7,000 of our people home."
Спасибо, Рона, спасибо. Ничего, скоро буду дома, так что давай. Ты как писала мені... Тобі привіт передавали, мама. Загальний фото на автобусі, що? Поздравляю. Ти теж. Де жили? Вже вдома.